Hello, everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. I hope you're all doing very, very well. Welcome back to another episode of 3 Points Perspective, the show where we go through a number of points, and obviously we've got three opinions on everything. Lots going on in the next 24 hours, lots that have been going on, but at the same time, not much because we haven't actually had any new incomings, but we do know of at least one player leaving. Marcus Bettinelli's going to Man City. We've got to speak about obviously Maignan and that deal, and then we're going to speak about Jamie Gittens as well from Dortmund. Any of the other news as well that's going around, and obviously it's not long until we get into Club World Cup territory. So the deadline is for those of you watching today. It's Tuesday, 7 p.m. I think that's UK time.
Yeah, 7 p.m. Yeah.
So that's how long we have before everything gets wrapped up. And fingers crossed. I mean, not that I'm particularly excited about the Gittens deal, but I know a lot of people, still think it's a good addition. I can't dispute that. He's a replacement for Sancho. Him and Maignan coming in, we look much stronger in the Club World Cup. We've got a bit more depth and a little bit more quality as well. Big up to Charlie and Nina. How are you doing, guys?
Yeah, all good, mate. Good. All good.
Nina, you're about to go to Poland.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited in the lead up to it. Just when like you're gonna go away and it's like a lot to prepare and do, and you're just like, oh, running around. Yeah, me.
It's it's quite cool. It's for UEFA, right?
Yeah, so it's the under-19s women's Euros, basically. So if anyone wants to follow along, then please do. I'll be doing all the previews, match reports, live blogs, interviews, all of that stuff.
Oh, you should try in Poland, by the way. I don't know what it's called, but like there's this like chicken and like mushroom sort of pastry thingy. Unbelievable. Can't tell you what it's called, but it's decent.
If she says that at the bar, I'm not sure she's going to have much luck, to be honest with you. But
I can't tell you what it's called, but it was class. Yeah, just like chicken and mushroom thing, Poland. Google that, and you'll probably find it.
I've seen pastries in general. Yeah, pretty good out there.
Well, they're like dumplings or something. Isn't it like Polish?
Yeah, mate, it's the Polish pancakes. Have you had the Polish pancakes?
No. Did you have the Polish pancakes?
Mate, they're not actually they're potatoes, but they're like pancakes. And they're mixed right. Go on.
I was just going to mad. You know what else is also mad? Mate, they got a sit-down Domino's in Poland.
Do they?
Bro, yeah. In the main square, right? So this is really not main square. There's a Domino's restaurant. Like you sit down. It's got like tables and chairs and shit, and like and it's like table service Domino's. Mental.
That's actually quite nice. I think that's something we should try and get.
Yeah, me and Matty Dav sat after the game. Table service, little shared pizza for two. Yeah, make of that what you will. Yeah,
nice. Right, let's dive into it, guys. So let's start off with the big one. Let's start off with Mike Maignan because, well, I made a video a couple of days ago saying I thought this deal was unlikely. I looked at it last night and we saw that Demarcio said that Chelsea have made a bid of £18 million for Mike Maignan. That was after a £12.7 million bid, which was, unsurprisingly rejected. And then it's come out from the Athletic this morning that we actually haven't had a bid, and it's all about Chelsea and Milan trying to meet somewhere in the middle, which I thought that £18 million was. So I was quite happy with it. But obviously it doesn't actually look like that's happened because no other journalist has reported it. So, I mean, what's your take on the whole saga? I'll start with you, Nina, and then we'll go on to Charlie as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously when us three were in studio last week talking about this, I felt quite skeptical that this was a very serious pursuit from Chelsea's behalf in terms of it was an opportunity in the market. We wanted to have a look, see if we could get a good deal on it. Because I mean, I kind of like the fact that Chelsea's very firm in their stance that they believe they can get a much better deal because of the fact he's got 1 year left, and there is always that risk for Milan that he walks out on a free. So there is obviously that to negotiate with. But in regards to obviously we don't understand really how true it is that there was an 18 million euro bid submitted. So obviously can't really talk too much on that, even though I think if it gets to a point where obviously he's pushing his way out, he would love to come to Chelsea, then they might, and if they want to get any money off him, have to sell on that. But it has dragged out a little bit too much, and you'd think that for a club in a position like them, they might be willing to, you know, sort of adhere to what Chelsea are offering. But yeah, I still feel pretty much the same as last week with regards to that. I thought it was unlikely. I think it still will be. But if this, you know, if this bid seriously was submitted, I'd like to think that they'd probably go for it. Otherwise, you know, they risk losing out. But I said this last week, I'm still very, very surprised that there aren't other clubs coming in to match what Milan originally valued him at, because it's not an extortionate amount. You know, it's not something that is unjustifiable when you take into consideration what players and goalkeepers especially get valued at these days. So he can certainly at least warrant that. But yeah, I'm just surprised that other clubs aren't in for him. But yeah, we'll see how it develops. Still a little bit skeptical, but if it happens, you know, I'd be very, very happy. I think he'd be a great addition. You know, I'm always someone that's criticising the goalkeeper, so why on earth would I turn my nose up at the prospect of having a Maignan between the sticks? But yeah, we'll see how it plays out. But I guess we'll have a bit more news later on, won't we?
Yeah. What about you, Charlie? What do you think?
Mate, it's so boring, isn't it? Like, you've got an opportunity to sign a top class player, and people like, there's certain deals that you should be tough on and have a stance on. You know, Gittens, for example, you should stay firm on evaluation, because 50 million quid or whatever that Dortmund are potentially asking for, that's those sort of deals, fair enough. There's deals to be strong with your stance on, and there's others where they represent great value for money, and it's smarter just to get the deal done. Not if you asked any Chelsea fan before any of this Maignan stuff came out that you could sign Maignan for £25 million this summer, every single person would say that's an unbelievable deal. No one is saying, oh, Chelsea would have been rinsed or they've been fleeced if they paid 25 mil for Maignan. It's a no-brainer. It's an absolute bargain price in a key position that we need to upgrade. I just don't get why we're penny pinching. And people talk about, oh, we shouldn't be overpaying for players. But Chelsea paid 30 mil for Dewsbury Hall, 45 million for Felix, 16 million for Anselmino, 20 mil for Kellyman. The list goes on and on and on. And yet people are drawing the line at a few million more for Mike Maignan. This is not a squad player, by the way. It's not like we're trying to sign a squad player from Milan, or it's not like we're looking for a squad player. Milan have got every right to demand that money for Maignan. He's their captain. He's their number one, and they want to keep him. So they've got every right to demand that. Now, if Chelsea think they can try and exploit this situation, they should absolutely try and exploit this situation, because any club should look to do that. However, I just feel that at this point, if you want the player, you know they're not changing the price. You know they're not changing the price. So the only way this deal happens is if you raise your bid. We saw this all last summer with Osimhen. We tracked Osimhen all summer, and we thought we'll just wait and wait and wait, and he'll just cave in and lower his demands. It looks like we're doing exactly the same again. We're just waiting and waiting and waiting, thinking that Milan might drop their demands at the last minute. They're not going to. We've been at this for days and days and days. It's like they're not going to drop their demands, are they? So I just feel we're just wasting time here in terms of this deal. Like, you know what the price is. There's certain deals you should be firm with, and there's other deals where the value's so good and the player makes such a big difference, you should just pay the money, you know? And so many people are trying to be fucking club accountants. No one should care about club finances as a fan. There's a player to bring in that improves the first team. They should be bought in. It's very simple.
But it's not really about caring about the finances as such. It's us fans kind of trying to justify how the deal is being played out, because obviously, like with anything, I mean, I can't say I'm a businesswoman, but if there is a deal there, you're going to go in to negotiate if you think that your stance is better and you could get a better deal out of it, because you could potentially have factors that are leaning in your favour, like the fact that he has got a 1 year left on his deal, and the fact that they would be, again, when push comes to shove, perhaps inclined to take whatever deal's out there so they don't lose him out on a free. So that does give Chelsea the licence to at least try and, you know, go in for some sort of negotiation. I totally get it though. Like, it's because of how much the fee is. Like 25 million isn't a lot of money, like Charlie says, but it's more of the fact that Chelsea think they can get a better deal on this, especially because it's going against the philosophy of signing the age profile of players we're going for. You're not exactly going to make money on Maignan, that's for sure. You know, precisely, we know that he's 30, so yeah, from Chelsea's standpoint, of course they'd be interested in getting Maignan for as least money as possible. It's not an absurd thing.
It's not an absurd thing at all. But like,
well, no. I mean, the thing is,
sorry, if only we had Champions League money, eh? If only we could use just 2 or 3 million of that Champions League money to that deal. It's just nonsense. I'm sorry, it's just utterly ridiculous.
No, it's true. It gets rid of the excuse that we don't have the money to be able to pay for these players. You're absolutely right in that sense. I think the whole thing with Champions League, well, we're going to find out if it was a con or not, based on how we finished the window. I mean, we haven't even really started the main window anyway, so it's hard to really judge it. But if we finish the window anything, without having improved our squad, and Maignan would certainly be a step in the right direction, though I personally really like Petrovic. So that's why I'm not going to say I am unbothered, to be honest. I am unbothered because I think that we're still in safe hands with Petrovic. I don't think he's as good as Maignan right now, but I don't think he's actually that far away, to be totally honest with you. You're looking at a world-class keeper with Maignan who's 30, and I think you're looking at a keeper with Petrovic who's actually not far off. I don't know why he doesn't get given more credit. But that being said, if we did bring in Maignan, I'm not going to complain. But I would be upset for Petrovic because he'll end up getting sold. But I was speaking with Kev the other day, and we were saying the best course of action for Petrovic probably wouldn't even be to sell him, because I'm hearing 25 million euros is the valuation. I'm like, really? You honestly believe that he's worth such a little amount? That's only about 10 million profit. And for a player that, I think is worth probably about 40 million, if other clubs aren't going to value him at that price, then I'd probably ship him out on loan again to another Champions League club where you can get more experience at the highest level. And then if you are going to sell him, at least make a decent profit, because I'm not even seeing that at the moment with Petrovic. But to go back to your point, Charlie, I do think that, it's a reasonable fee for Maignan, but we're penny pinching, aren't we? So we want to get the best deal possible, but then you end up digging a hole where if you start off a negotiation one way and then finish off just paying the price that Milan want you to pay anyway, then people are going to sort of realize that's what Chelsea do, and then they'll just hold out on every deal. So although I agree with you, we should just pay the money, at the same time we've sort of already decided how we want to approach not just this deal but every deal at the moment, and I don't think they're going to change from that, to be honest.
No, they won't change from that necessarily. But there's certain deals you should be firm with, and there's other deals where the value's so good it's just easier just to pay the money. I'm not saying you have to pay 25 million up front, but you can offer 18 million and the rest in add-ons or whatever it is. That's not a lot of money. Like, I just don't get it. With all the money we've spent on bang average dross over the last few windows, the club are suddenly drawing the line at a few extra million for a top-class player in a really important position. You can guarantee if he was 5 years younger, or if he had Man City Academy on his CV, he would have fucking paid the money.
Yeah, but you just said it, though. That's literally it, though, Charlie. That's why they're not doing what they do with other players, because of his age, and there is no...
You still get 4 or 5 years out of him.
Yeah, but you're not going to make money on him. Obviously, we all know that the players we are now signing, there is always that, thought there for the future. What profit can we make on him when we do sell him? What money can we make on him? Do you not remember that our players, as much as they're viewed as footballers, they're also viewed as investments?
Well, of course they are. But what I'm saying is, like, all right, you wouldn't get a return on investment in terms of a transfer fee for Maignan, but the difference that he could make to that team in terms of league position, in terms of winning trophies and stuff, that's going to make you a significant amount of money. That's going to make you more than a few million you're penny pinching over for the fucking deal.
Yeah, totally. I hear that point. Yeah.
The thing is as well that he wants to leave. Like, he's made it very clear that he wants to leave. So I don't see why a club would hold on to a player that doesn't want to be there. And if the sacrifice, again, from Milan's side, I'm not just talking from Chelsea's side, if the sacrifice is 2-3 million, then I don't really see, they're still going to make, actually, it wouldn't be a profit if it was 15 million euros that Chelsea paid, because I think Maignan actually cost about 16 from Lille. But you're either going to make something or nothing. And, they're owned by American investors as well, if I'm not wrong, in Milan, because I remember Egg Barley did a
red
speaking event with them. Yeah, something like that. So they're driven by money just as much as Chelsea are, and they don't have Champions League football either. So they've got to bring some sort of revenue into the club to compensate for that. So we'll see what happens. But it's interesting looking at the Athletic. What they said kind of contradicts what we heard from Demarcio. They said there's been no official offer from Chelsea, but they've communicated that they will pay a maximum of £15 million. Chelsea see the sale of Christian Pulisic to Milan in 2023 for 20 million euros as part of their reasoning. The US international also had just 12 months left on his contract, but was 6 years younger. Pulisic also plays in a position that commands higher fees. So that's what they're saying Chelsea are using to justify the fact that they don't want to pay this 25 million. But then again, Pulisic wasn't one of the best in the world at his position.
And we didn't want him. Milan want to keep Maignan. It's not like Pulisic was a first-team player. We really wanted to keep him, but he was forcing his way out. Like the situations are totally different. This is the French number one and their club captain. They've got every right to drag their heels and ask for what they want.
No, 100%, and it's not a ridiculous amount of money. So you're not wrong on that side. Listen, I just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, 7Bet. If you are new to 7Bet, place a tenner on your first bet or evens or higher, and they'll give you a £10 free bet straight back. Use the code WFB10 when you sign up. Works on any sport except virtuals. Scan the QR code, which is on screen, or click the link below to get a free bet. T's and C's apply. 18 plus only. Bet responsibly. Be gamble aware. Right, let's move on from Mike Maignan. So speaking of goalkeepers, Marcus Bettinelli's off. And I'll be honest with you, I'm confused as to why we're so easy about it. I mean, I don't know what the fee is. I'm sure we'll find out what the fee is. This seems like a transfer that doesn't really benefit us. So I just struggle to see why we're so happy to sign over Bettinelli to Man City. Now, one of the things that people say is, hang on a second, Alex, what are you on about? The guy doesn't even play. You've got about 20,000 goalkeepers. Why do you care if you get rid of a keeper who doesn't even play for you? And my answer to that would be, he's been at the club for 4 years, and there's a reason he's been at the club. Not because of the way he plays, but because of the way he is. And these things all help create a good environment and a good dressing room. And also, he's a more experienced player in his 30s. I think these things all help when you have a young team. So as soon as Scott Carson ends up leaving Man City after 6 years, straight away, they're going for Marcus Bettinelli. Does that not tell you that he has some sort of quality, which obviously we don't see because I'm not in the dressing room, that attracts a top team like Man City to want to bring him in straight after Scott Carson leaves?
I mean, I've got no idea what the market for third choice goalkeepers is actually like. I mean, it's quite a difficult position to fill. You're basically never going to play, and you're just going to train, and you're there for vibes.
Good vibes, though.
Yeah, for good vibes. And look, it's not about losing Bettinelli. I think Bettinelli played one game for us. But as you say, Alex, it's more about, he was kind of a senior figure at the training ground in the dressing room, someone that was a big part of things off the pitch and behind the scenes. And, you want to try and keep as many of those people together as you possibly can. Now, of course, if Bettinelli wants to move, then fair play to him. I don't think Chelsea are going to stand in his way. He's given great service to the club in terms of just being a great guy around the place. And if he wants to move, then fair enough. I would just be slightly a tiny bit concerned about taking important figures out of the dressing room, because football's not just the players on the pitch. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that is actually really important, and he is a big part of that. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, you're not going to get much of a fee, are you? I mean, you're looking at maybe a couple of million tops.
That would be great, to be honest. But I'll be honest with you. I know he's got a year left on his contract as well. So I found that out yesterday, and I was like, okay, it makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Why would be open to giving him up? But he'll probably get a nice juicy pay rise as well. Not in football terms, but in real life terms. Because he's on about 35k, and I reckon that will probably go up by like 5-10 grand. So it's not the worst thing in the world getting a nice pay rise, a new deal at Man City. And they kept Scott Carson probably into his 40s, right?
I think he was there for 6 years, Carson. Yeah.
So Bettinelli's probably thinking, I've got a long-term future at this new club at Man City. If Scott Carson can stay there for that long. So, yeah, I don't know. But it just doesn't seem like, apart from the fact that his contract's running out, I mean, if you look at it from that sense, then you say, fair enough, Chelsea, you're getting something for a player that otherwise you just lose on a free anyway. I don't really see that being an easy position to replace short term, but I'm sure at some point we'll bring another player in. But he does seem to be one of those iconic figures in the dressing room at Chelsea. I'm not going to lie to you.
He is so iconic. I'm never going to forget the time he came to the team hotel on his Lime bike while everyone else was arriving in like a Mercedes or like a Porsche or something. And he just rocked up. But you can tell that he's got the respect of other players and teammates and stuff. So like clearly he's still enough of a presence to make an impact that when he leaves, even though he's not played football, he's still highly regarded. So yeah, I think interesting character, but with how Chelsea have been stockpiling goalkeepers, it was never really ever going to be for him anyway. So he's going to the Club World Cup, isn't he, as well? So he might potentially maybe get a substitution at some point.
Oh, it's great in a barrel there. It'd be lucky to make the bench.
Yeah, but there you go. So
he gets free tickets, though. He gets free tickets for the game.
Yeah.
I mean, is there a better job in the world, not just in football, but just in general, being a third choice keeper? You're literally paid to train, and that's it.
Bring the vibes, train. I guess you do travel with the team.
Yeah, but you're almost like a mascot.
Think about how much some fans would pay to be able to do what Marcus Bettinelli does without the footballing side,
mate,
like just in terms of like being in the presence of the squad and everything like that. People would pay, I reckon. They'd pay a lot. They'd pay
decent money.
You know those seats that they sold for like 10 grand.
Those
dugout club,
like that. Whatever it is. Yeah.
Mate, I reckon people would pay big money to get like a. In fact, if I'm not wrong, this was actually a thing years ago under Ken Bates. Is that fans could travel with the squad on the plane? I'm talking like big money here, and they would basically get to just travel with the team while they're going to their fixtures, and they would, if I'm not wrong, like have dinner with Ken Bates and all that sort of stuff. And he was renowned for always splitting the bill and making everyone pay for their part of the meal. I think that was actually a thing in the 90s.
Mate, it'd be imagine that. Like you pay like 20 grand and you get
it'd be much more than that.
Or whatever it is, and you sit next to Uncle Tossin on the private jet over to the Club World Cup.
Oh god. Oh, I can imagine Reece James is there and he slips over and you go, fucking hell, Reece, man. Come on, man. Not another injury. Let's go. I don't know. It'd be quite nice to be in and around the squad. I don't know.
It would be good, wouldn't it? It would be good.
But yeah, we'll see what happens.
So let's pitch it to the club, mate.
I reckon they do it as well. I reckon they do it.
Yeah.
For the right price, mate. If you had a select group of fans, how many would you realistically be able to take? Maybe 8 to 10 people.
Yeah, I reckon 10.
Because we don't want to take the mickey. Like it's got to still be exclusive. I mean, that's And how the most expensive season tickets at Stamford Bridge are like probably 15 grand a season or something like that. That's not including boxes or anything like that, because I think that's just businesses. So how much would you pay to watch Chelsea home and away
Wait,
and be able to travel with
How
the squad.
How much did you say the most expensive season ticket is?
About 15 grand a year.
Okay, yeah.
Well, what's that
Yeah.
like? Fucking like
600-700 a game or something like that.
Is that like is that like in the chopper? Is that like the Ron Harris suite or something?
I think it's East Execs.
Oh, East Execs, fair.
That's
mental.
That's
yeah. I reckon people would probably pay upwards of $500,000 to do that.
Oh, mate, you'd find some rich fuckers that would absolutely do that.
And not just be able to be on the plane with the players, but be able to actually interact with them.
Yeah. You can't just have a seat at the back.
I reckon there should be there should be a no phones policy. That's probably a rule that I would put in.
Or you're allowed one picture, and then you can have a picture of everyone, but that's it. No videos or any shit like that.
Yeah, but if you're traveling home and away, you're not going to get a picture every week, are you?
No, but I meant for the one off on the plane, you can have a photo of everyone, and that's it. There's no videos or any shit like that.
Yeah, I think videos should be like that. I think that could cause problems if people start filming the players in like.
Yeah, like sending a photo of one of the players asleep into away day sleepers. No, it's probably not going to go down well.
I think that would be all right. I'm thinking more about, players talking about whatever it is that they talk about. There'd be some sort of controversy.
You guys have just killed your pitch from start to finish. You started off well there, and then you said at every single reason you guys wouldn't be allowed to have this experience.
It's a little cost risk analysis. Is that what it's called?
Like, oh, we do this, we do this. So yeah, no.
Yeah,
maybe it's one of those things where you have tiers of how much you can do as a fan based on how much you pay. So if you pay $250,000, you get to go on the plane. If you pay $500,000, you get to sit next to a player. If you pay $1 million, you get to do whatever you want.
That's mental.
It's Clear Lake vibes, that. Clear Lake
vibes.
They're all over it. If you've got 8 fans doing that, it's a couple of million right there. They would do it. We all know they would. But there you go. Right, let's move on to
because next year season tickets will go up by 7% again, just because Cole Palmer will walk through all of the concourses and give you a wave before the game. So that will justify the rise in season ticket prices again.
Hey, who knows? Hey, let's go on to Jamie Gittens, guys. So this is a deal that I think I don't know how we all feel. I know that Kev and, if I'm not wrong, Lewis. I don't know if Lewis is behind this one. Can't remember. But he's a young player. He's about 20 years old or
he's
something
20,
like that. Yeah, 20 years old. He's a winger, predominantly plays on the left. Quite fast. He recorded the 16th highest speed in the Bundesliga last year. So he's not the fastest, but he's one of the fastest. And he seems to fit the profile of player that fits into Maresca's system quite well, which is being able to sort of hold position on the left, stretch defenses, but also play with that directness and that willingness to shoot, which is something we've complained about with Jadon Sancho a lot over this season, getting into positions and then just outright refusing to shoot at times, either looking for a pass or passing backwards, whatever it is. I don't think that you'd see anything like that with Jamie Gittens. So you're looking more at a profile similar to Madueke, as opposed to a player that matches the qualities of Jadon Sancho. So what are we thinking with this one, guys? And is this a deal you can get behind?
At the right price, yeah. In a 35 to 40 million pound range, I don't think it's a bad deal for someone with the potential that he's got. But we shouldn't be paying anything more than 40 million pounds. If a fee can't be agreed, if Dortmund are wanting more than 40 million, I think you've got to walk away from that. That, as I was saying earlier about deals you've got to be firm on. This is definitely one of them. He's got potential. There are things to like about him. He's got great pace. He's direct. He's pretty good with both feet. He's got a good shot on him. He scored 12 goals last season. He's got Champions League experience. I think he's played over 100 games for Dortmund. He's a decent player. There's potential there. But this guy's not coming in to be he might be coming in to be a starter. I don't know. I hope not. But
we haven't got that many options.
No, we haven't. But for a squad player, 40 million quid. I'd get on. I don't hate it, but I'm not like jumping around with excitement. Oh, I can't wait. This is going to take us to the next level. What an amazing signing this is.
I mean, I'm open-minded. I can't really say that I know an awful lot of about the player, and I've watched him and stuff. But yeah, I mean, are Dortmund keen to let him go or not?
Well, he doesn't fit into Niko Kovac's new system. He's not played as well since they sacked the old manager.
Since the arrival of their new coach. So apparently,
he doesn't suit the system with Kovac. Kovac's system, like Gittens, don't suit it.
What's his system? Because I haven't really watched Dortmund, to be honest with you.
I'll be honest. I'm not really sure because they used to play like under I can't remember who the gaffer was before. Nuri Sahin was there before Kovac. I think they played more like sort of out and out wingers, and that suited him more. Whereas Kovac don't really do that as much, so it doesn't suit Gittens as much, which is why he was kind of in and out of the team over that sort of second half of the season. I mean, Gittens in theory, like the profile wise, is a perfect fit for how Maresca plays. It's just you're taking another gamble on someone who you're hoping is going to become as good as you think they are, which is basically what we're always doing with every signing.
Yeah, pretty much. So he does fit from that side of things with that justification. But yeah, I agree. It depends on the fee, because to me, he's just an addition by the sounds of it, not necessarily a solution, as in someone who comes and upgrades the front line immediately with no risk. But obviously, there's no guarantee with anyone. But with wingers and the profile of wingers we've been signing in recent years, we obviously do tend to take a gamble. We do tend to like the what if factor about them. So yeah, it depends. I'm open-minded. I'm not, again, he's not someone that makes me very excited. But again, maybe I just haven't watched enough, and someone can convince me in the comments that Gittens would be an amazing signing. Hey?
Well, let us know in the comments what you think. If you think he's good enough for Chelsea, I agree with what both of you are saying. Really, I think at the right price, it's a good deal. It's not a great deal. It's not a bad deal. It's a good player, and it's a player that certainly I would rather bring in than Garnacho if you were to give me the option between the two of them. The thing is as well, when you I know a lot of people are upset about Jadon Sancho as well. And the fact that we let him go, obviously, you've got to look at the wages. I think people can understand that. But I think people are disappointed more so because if we would have got that deal done, it would have been about 25 million. He's a good player. He's a stable squad player. You know what you're going to get. And it's not amazing. It's not bad either. Like, we've had some good moments with Sancho, and we've had some dips as well in form. With Jamie Gittens, though, what I would highlight is you have a massive ceiling. And I don't think you were ever going to see Jadon Sancho, this is my opinion, having a better season than he had this season at Chelsea, to be honest with you. I honestly think if you look at what he's achieved in English football since he's come to United, this is his best season that he's had. So that tells me that it's not going to get much better based on the fact that he's already been in, playing in English football for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And what you're going to get with Gittens is, a much higher ceiling where you've seen that he's got 12 goals in the Bundesliga, and people will go, well, that's the Bundesliga, etc.
I think it was 8 in the Bundesliga, 4 in the Champions League.
That's in all competitions. We're not including assists either, though, so he'll have a little bit more for GA. I think what we'll see with Gittens and what the ownership and the recruitment are seeing is a player that can improve, and I don't think we really had that with Sancho. So as much as I do respect Sancho, I thought he was, a good servant to the club, and I think he helped us. I think he suited what Maresca was doing in the sense of having a different profile. But when we were up against low blocks at times, and when we had those half chances to have a crack on goal, I always felt like Sancho sort of held back, and I don't think you get that from Gittens. That's not to say he's better or worse than Sancho, but I just think that profile will suit the way we play a little bit more. And we know that if he stayed at Chelsea for another 5 years, I think that you'd probably end up getting more progression out of a 20-year-old than someone who's 25. It's like if we were having the same conversation about Mike Penders and Robert Sanchez. Who's going to be a better goalkeeper? You would think that with Sanchez being closer to the age of 30, he's probably not going to get much better, as Mike Pender's, closer to 20. In fact, he probably is about 20. So, yeah, that's my stance on Gittens. I think it's a good deal if we can get it done.
I think the only thing with Gittens is, right, you look at what previous players have done in the Bundesliga. Sancho lit up the Bundesliga, was unbelievable. Werner banged goals for fun in the Bundesliga. Havertz was ridiculous in the Bundesliga, and Kunku was as well. Look at and all four of those players, really, we're saying were bang average in the Prem. Gittens has achieved nowhere near as much as any of those players in the Bundesliga. I'm not saying that every player is going to translate the same, but I'll be a bit cautious in thinking that Gittens is going to be like unbelievable when he wasn't even tearing up the Bundesliga like those other players did who came to England and were pretty average.
Sorry, I just heard Werner Havertz all in one sentence.
No, but you know what I mean, though? Like, he didn't achieve more in the Bundesliga than any of those players.
I know. And that's why there is always that risk, especially because he's still such a young player. And, you could argue that he's still got probably a lot of time and opportunity to develop there as well. And he hasn't exactly, hit his sort of very best. But you would much rather, if we do sign Gittens, have him in for the Club World Cup as opposed to Dortmund having him with them out there at the tournament, because it means you get to see a little bit more of him. You get to spend a little bit more time under the new manager, who's still a new manager to us, right? A season under his belt now. But it is one of those. There is obviously risk factors, but I think we're all getting a bit used to that. That's just how we're going to roll. That's just how the transfer strategy has been set out pretty much. We are looking to bring in potential signings and hopefully make them ready-made players ourselves. That's sort of just the ambition, really, isn't it? So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the fee is. Again, we don't really have a problem overpaying for players if we think that we could definitely get more later down the line when it comes to selling them. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I would say out of the two deals, I've got more confidence that we'll sign Jamie Gittens than Mike Maignan, just because he's a young player, and I think Chelsea are willing to go that extra mile for young players. But if the valuations stay where they are, I mean, if we're looking, because I thought it was about 40 million for Gittens, but I think the Athletic is saying it's about 50. So, I mean, let's just imagine it's in the middle, about 45. I think if Chelsea can meet Dortmund at 35, 37, around that mark, I think that's a good deal for both sides, because he's not a player that's being utilised by the current coach. I think he wants to leave. He's already agreed a 7-year deal with Chelsea.
Oh, yeah, it's just a club-to-club agreement that's missing.
I don't know if we've agreed a contract with Maignan, though.
Well, I think terms are agreed with Maignan on a contract. I'm pretty certain that has happened. But basically, both of them deals were just missing club-to-club agreements.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Well, I mean, we've been linked with a few players during this window as well. So we had a bid turned down for Mohamed Kudus from West Ham. We wanted to do a swap deal, including Dewsbury Hall and Sanchez as well, apparently. So it's not like we haven't tried to do other pieces of business. We have, but these are the deals that if we're going to get anything done before the Club World Cup, it will be these two.
Be one of those two. I don't think two happen. At best, one of these deals will happen, and at worst, neither of them happen. I think we get one at best.
But for people as well that are getting a little bit doom and gloom about this window, you've got to remember this isn't actually the window. This is the pre-window that is only for clubs in the Club World Cup. So we're in
what I would say is
the
only annoying thing is that when you look at, like, for example, what Manchester City are doing, Cherki in, Ait Nouri in, Tajani Reinders in, 3 players who all go into that first team, all signed before the Club World Cup. And here we are haggling over a few million for players. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
you say that as well, Charlie. This is another thing. It's like we did our business even earlier than that. We did our business in January. We did our business last summer. And those are players that are coming in now. Now, I know that people aren't necessarily satisfied with just that, but it's not like Chelsea haven't been proactive in the market. We have.
No, in terms of previously, yes, and of course, compared to what squad finished the season, you're going to have Petrovic added, Santos, Isugu, Delap, and Mamadou Sarr. So that's 5 names already that are going to be with the squad that weren't with the squad last season. However, when you're doing all these negotiations, it is a major disappointment, in my opinion, not to have at least Maignan on the plane to the Club World Cup, if it weren't to happen.
When you see how close we are, I do agree. Yeah. I do agree with what you're saying. But yeah, I think it's more so, a generalization when people say that Chelsea haven't been proactive. I don't agree with that whatsoever. I think we've been more proactive than most clubs. It's just that people aren't happy with the signings that we've been proactive with. So if you look at some of the players we've got coming in and we compare that to what we had, I'd say, let's just imagine either
Paez as well. I forgot to mention Paez.
Oh yeah, Kendrick Paez. But Petrovic or Maignan are both improvements on what we had last season. Andre Santos, I mean, people have been debating that whether he could start over Enzo Fernandez. I'll be interested to see how that works out. But I think he's still an upgrade on what we had in the midfield. We'll just use Dewsbury Hall as an example. He'll probably never get another minute in the Prem playing for us. Delap is, I would say, arguably an upgrade on Jackson because he is actually an out-and-out striker. And he has a different type of profile, but offers similar qualities as well. Kendrick Paez will go to Strasbourg. I think we all know that. And Estevao, I mean, we've seen that he's already starting for Brazil at his age. I mean, if he's able to get into the national team, then to be honest with you, I don't doubt that he'd get into our team. But I do think we need to manage his minutes in the Premier League as well, because international football does tend to be a little bit slower.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, if you're looking at and Isugo as well, we get a little bit of depth in the midfield if you've got Lavia injured and
after the Club World Cup, so he won't be with us.
Oh yeah, so he'll be playing for Palmeiras during that period. But when you look at it like that, it's not bad, is it? It's not bad. But as always, we don't strive for good signings. We strive for great signings, and we want more than what is expected. We always want that little bit more as a fan base. Some people would say it's greedy. I would say we're just used to it under Abramovich. Once you're in a habit, it's hard to get out of it, isn't it? And Chelsea's habits in the transfer window in terms of what we spend might have maintained, if not even got higher. But in terms of what we spend that money on, we are a little bit different to what we had under Abramovich. So I think if you want to keep the fan base happy, especially the older generation that want ready-made players, then you get Maignan in. But typical classic Clear Lake signing if we manage to get Jamie Gittens as well. So yeah, I think that at least one of those deals will happen before the Club World Cup. I'm not sure which one. So we'll have to wait and see. I think we'll probably we'll end up wrapping it up there, guys. Thanks so much for jumping on. Good luck in Poland as well, Nina. If I don't see you out there, how long are you going to be in Poland for?
2 weeks.
Oh,
Till the end of the month. Yeah.
Is it Warsaw?
No, so it's well, my base is, I'm gonna butcher how I say this. It's spelled Rzeszów, but it's pronounced like Zesov, I think. So, yeah. It's a bit like the Wroclaw pronunciation that's literally not Wroclaw. Wroclaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, the W is a V. So yeah, let me know if anyone's from Rzeszów in Poland. That's where I'm.
Is that the only place you're going?
No, so there's 3 other cities, but yeah, I don't make me pronounce them.
Oh, it's not like Warsaw or Krakow or anything.
No. They are smaller cities around the south.
It's interesting how they do all these tournaments in the cities no one's ever heard of, as opposed to doing it in the main one.
Yeah,
probably
well,
the
tournaments are sort of split around different countries as well, where obviously like smaller capacity stadiums and stuff. It's obviously generally like what's available. And
I mean, you're not gonna. There's no point having the like under 19 Euros, mate, in a fuck off 40k stadiums. You're not gonna fill it.
They still do get between like 7,000 to 10,000 at like finals and stuff. So It's a pretty good number, yeah. It's pretty good.
That's probably why they're in these smaller towns then, because their stadiums would be like
yeah,
sort of
exactly.
10 to 15K.
Yeah,
That's fair. Well, hey, there you go. Listen, thanks so much for jumping on, guys. Subscribe to Nina and Charlie as well if you haven't already. Their channels will be in the description. Subscribe to Chelsea Fan TV as well. And I look forward to catching up very, very soon. All the best, guys, and speak